Well, I had the good luck that during my professional life, my very first foreign posting was to Algeria. And that during the Algerian War of Independence, which meant that I was in a high-strung atmosphere, exposed daily to death in a terrible civil war, and that against people who were Muslims. And my observation was that they behaved with a degree of patience and ability to absorb punishment and determination that I could not explain. So I thought I would have to read their book, the Quran, in order to know how they tick. And the Quran for me was a revelation, because it put all the doubts I had had about Christian doctrine, everything fell into place, rationally, logically. My doubts about hereditary sin, original sin, of expiation of sin by a sacrificial death of somebody, of divine incarnation, of Trinity. All of these things I had refused to believe because it defied my mind. And when I read the Quran, Jesus emerged as a credible figure. And all the dogma I just mentioned weren't there. So in many ways I found similarities to my upbringing, and at the same time I realized that Islam was the first and most decisive reformation of Christianity. And I did not feel that I'm going away from Christianity in that sense, but I rediscovered my own roots in the original Christianity, and by ending up as a Muslim, I did not feel that I was betraying anything. I came home. I came where I should have been. That feeling of homecoming, I think many Muslims have. And that is why my nostalgia for Mecca and Medina is almost a physical nostalgia. Because the peacefulness that you enjoy in spite of being with 10,000 of other people is really a unique experience. When I was posted to Yugoslavia, I lived in Belgrade, very close to one of the major soccer stadiums, Crvena Zvezda. And when they played and lost, and I happened to drive home during that time, it was a frightening experience, because the masses would simply become killer. They acted almost with a killer instinct. And they would trample on your car and hit on your car and shake your car out of frustration. And when I came to Hajj in 1992, Sheikh Nakhnaf, with whom I made Hajj from Algeria, and I were in a government car driving to the big the Prophet's mosque in Medina during prayer time, just before prayer, and there were about 400,000 people approaching the mosque on foot, and we came in a car, and nobody said anything, nobody was irritated, nobody banged on the car. And I said, this is against human nature. Is Islam really capable of changing sociological laws? Obviously it did.
That in fact some Americans open to Islam do hear your words.
Well, I hope to be in Washington, D.C. in early September for the next ISNA conference, which I will be able to address, but there, of course, most people attending will be Muslims. At any rate, what I would like to say is this. We had an 18th century in which the world was rationalist. And then we had a 19th century in which the world was atheist. And then we had a 20th century where the world became ideological. Maybe it's time for the world in this century to become religious again. And it looks that way because while many scientists in the 19th century were thoroughly materialistic and atheistic, most prominent scientists of the 20th century had turned platonistically idealistic to the point of becoming mystical. That was the case for Max Planck, for Werner Heisenberg, for Schrödinger, and even for Albert Einstein. If this trend filters down, and usually it takes almost a century before what leading thinkers have thought up becomes mass consumption, then the 21st century indeed should become a century again where the transcendental concerns of mankind are being taken more seriously again. We still don't know what life is. We still don't even know what gravity is, gravitation. We don't know how the world began. We don't know how it will end in terms of physics. In terms of microphysics, we have no more matter. It disappeared under our hands. All this has rehabilitated religion enormously. And now we see the crash of ethics in the American corporate life. How many people have I seen smiling at me, almost cynically, when I try to explain to them the mechanics of Islamic economics? Saying, but that's naive. You have to separate ethics from economics. You can't mix the two. Either you have an efficient system or you have a moralizing system. Today, we have the President of the United States reintroducing ethics into capitalism. If these trends continue, the world may wake up to the realization that Islam has been the answer all along.